Shalom Aleichem, sweetest friends. We are continuing our series of shiurim on the topic of milchamos, based on the Sefer of Maran Harav Zatzal, Oros HaMilchama, and to clarify the Rav's position and obviously the Torah's position, because it was misunderstood. The Torah would prefer that there's no war. As the Navi says, that the vision for the future is v'kitetu charvotam liitim b'chanisosem l'mazmeros lo yisa goy al goy cherev lo yemudu od milchama. That there should be no more war. Their swords should be changed into plowshares. There should be no war. There should be no killing. There should be no blood. That is the messianic utopian vision. However, we live in a world where there is war. A very, very imperfect world, and there's a lot of suffering. So obviously, the Rav, Maran Harav Zatzal, is not in favor of people being hurt or in pain or killed. The Torah says, V'rachamav al kol ma'asav. There is mercy on all of his beings. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't ideally want to see people suffer. The Torah says that before you go to war, first you're karei l'shalom. Sometimes a war is necessary, but the Rambam paskins based on Psukim, bein milchemes reshus, bein milchemes mitzvah. Before you go to war, you're karei l'shalom. First you say, I want peace. If they leave, they leave. If they want to stay in peace, stay in peace. And then if not, then what else are we going to do? Sometimes wars are necessary, but that's not the ideal, and that's clear. Just to bring it to current events, if today the Arabs would put down their weapons and say, we don't want to fight anymore, we want peace with you, today the Israeli Defense Forces could close down if we trusted them that they're really telling the truth. Obviously, it's well known that, as Bill Clinton himself said, that the Yasser Arafat lied to his face. And it's well known that this is a common phenomenon, so we wouldn't be able to believe them. But in theory, if we could believe them, the entire conflict in the Middle East would end instantaneously if they just said, we don't want to fight anymore. We just want peace. Let's talk about it. Let's go to the table and talk. Then we wouldn't need weapons. I don't know any soldiers who really want to die and go to the battlefield and shoot and kill people. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to sit at home with their family, make a nice living, and enjoy life. That's what everybody wants. Everybody has a different concept of enjoyment. But as individuals, we don't want war. And as a nation, we don't want war. And the Torah doesn't want war. So what is Oros HaMilchama about? Oros HaMilchama is finding the light within the war. Once there are wars, what good is going to come out of it? We don't wage a war for Moshiach. If I could be over now in an Isser D'Rabbanan, says the Brisker Rav, an Isser D'Rabbanan, with which I could bring Moshiach, I wouldn't do it. If I could kill somebody that I'm not allowed to kill, certainly, even to bring Moshiach, I wouldn't do it. We don't fight wars in order to bring Moshiach. What we do is, we live our lives, we try to follow the Torah, and do our best, and hopefully Moshiach will come. So who in fact is behind this whole process? The Ribono Shel Olam. The Ribono Shel Olam decides how things are going to unfold, how they're going to develop. And Memela, that being the case, once there are wars, we have to find the good, the lights, the oros of the wars. So was World War I good? World War I was absolutely horrific. There are no words to describe how much suffering there was during World War I, which they called at the time the Great War. In between World War I and World War II was indescribably terrible. So it's indescribably, I couldn't even think of an adjective to describe how terrible it was. Just inconceivable how much people were suffering. World War II, which is more famous than World War I, that everyone thinks was, people forget World War I because World War II was so terrible. Obviously, it's beyond no words to describe how much suffering there was in World War II. Not only the 6 million Jews who were killed and 1.5 million of them children, And not only all of the people who suffered and weren't killed, and not only the suffering we have for the generations, for all the people who survived the war and came back to freedom, but walked around with the scars, and they continue to this day in so many people, psychological scars, emotional scars. But there were many other people who suffered as well, many other innocent non-Jews who suffered. So we don't want war. So all those cynics out there, all those negative people out there, all those people who try to find ways to denigrate Hashem and His Torah should know that we want peace and we want love. And if you read through the Chumash, the message of the Chumash is peace and love, and the message of the Navi is peace and love. And those psukim in the Chumash which talk about war are only talking about, as the Nevi'im tell us, are only talking about a temporary condition where we have to wage war, and also not an ideal, even in the present. We would prefer not to. We would prefer if everybody would just make peace, and then we would have to get hurt. And as Rav Kook writes in a letter, a famous letter to one of his Talmidim, I don't know how famous it is, but now it's going to become more famous, that the reason there's the mitzvah of Mechias Amalek, of erasing Amalek, and the Shiva Amimim, is because there's no other recourse. It's like today. Let's say we go and we close down the Israeli Defense Forces. And we say to the Arabs, come on, let's just be friends. You see, we don't have an army anymore. We took all of our guns and we threw them in the Mediterranean. They're finished. We don't have tanks anymore. We gave them all away. We gave them to a museum in Norway. So what would happen? Within 15 minutes, they would all be attacking them from all sides. And that would be the end of not only the state of Israel, but the end of the Jewish people in Israel, all 6 million of us. That's how many there are right now. So if you have this lovey-dovey attitude towards people who are murderers, then they are going to murder you. And that the Torah does not want. So that's why it's necessary to wage war not only today, but that's why the Torah commands us to fight Amalek. A person knows what who the Nazis were. So that's Amalek. That is, at least whether they were biologically or not, they probably were biologically. But certainly, as Rav Soloveitchik says in Hashkafa, they had the din of Amalek. Whether he meant this lahalacha or not is already debatable, but certainly their attitude was an Amaleki attitude of wanting to wipe out the Jewish people, of Haman lahashmi la'arog al'abed es kol Yehudim. But they weren't so nice that they did it v'yom echad, as Haman wanted to do. They wanted to be nice and protracted, for us to make the Jews suffer and to starve them, to torture them. So this pacifism of, hey, all war is bad and all killing is bad, is just going to hurt the good guys and going to benefit the bad guys. That being said, we go to Perek Zayin in Oretz HaMilchama. B'doros ha'achronim, in the later generations, the Rav says, Am Yisrael is beginning to reveal itself. Mitgaleh b'knesset Yisrael tzeva atzmi. The Jewish people's true light is being revealed. Holchim ha'kochot u'mitpatchim. The latent kochos of Klal Yisrael are being developed and actualized. Holechet v'shabala chochma v'gvura yosher ha'tara pnimit. The chochma is coming back, the gvura, the yosher, the honesty, the internal purity, as a national revelation. Holechet v'shabala chochma. What's pshat holechet v'shabala chochma? All of a sudden we're coming back. You see the yeshivas are developing, as the Rav didn't see in his time, but it was beginning. And now there's kolim and yeshivas all over Eretz Yisrael. Tremendous amounts of chachma and Torah being developed, Baruch Hashem. And there's gvura, there's strength. And today we're fighting back against our enemies. We're not just letting them kill us without any defense, like unfortunately in the Golis, we had little defense. Today we're defending ourselves. There's a yosher, there's this straight thinking in Eretz Yisrael. It comes from the Torah. The Torah is called Sefer HaYashar. There's a Tara Pnimis. You see a lot of people, so many people today, looking for this internal purity. Holechet ha'omah v'nivneit mittakenet hi. The nation is being built, it's being fixed. Legeulata, for its geula, geulas olamim, an eternal geula that's going to be irreversible. Porachati b'yifat tifalta. Am Yisrael is sprouting in its beautiful glory. Mitoch hamon galei tzarot ovrim alea mikol hagim mikol hanefutzot, from all of the waves of tsaris that are passing over the Jewish people, from all the goyim, from all of the diaspora. At the end of the day, we're going to come out with something great. This is all part of God's plan, as I said at the beginning. That this is part of the Talich HaEloki, part of the divine process of bringing us to our Geula. Hi machnisa hon rav de'ah. She brings in many different opinions, understandings, hashkafas. Uma'of habatal merchakim, and this far-reaching vision. We are a universal nation. We're a cosmopolitan, cosmological nation. All of the worlds, we are the heart of the nations, as the Kuzari said. So we have everything in mind and everybody in mind. We want all the nations to realize that God is King. And we are adding what's pure that comes from outside to its own Ruchush Atzmi. So on one hand, we're an Am Levadad Yishkon of Agoyim Le'ischashav. We're a nation that stands alone. On the other hand, there's certain universal sides that we bring in also. As we know, the Jews, whenever you read about a psychological study, there are going to be Jews' names there. We read about big doctors, some medical breakthrough, there are Jewish names there. Universal sides also are brought out by the Jews. Kinat am mitgaberet. We have kina. We have zealousness for our kavod. We have this national pride that we're a nation in Eretz Yisrael, building ourselves up in our divinely mandated homeland. Hakarat atzmutam mitgadelet. We recognize who we are. Hiyodat kvar sheish la'aretz sheish la'safa. We have a land, we have a language. Modern Hebrew isn't exactly biblical Hebrew, but it's the closest thing we got. Sifrut. Sheyesh la tzava, atchila lakir b'melchemet olam zo. We have our literature and an army that already started. They had already small military units already during World War I. First of all, a lot of Jews fought in World War I. But even in Eretz Yisrael, they were starting to develop. I don't know if during World War I, but certainly sometime later, the Lechi and the Etzel and the Haganah and the Irgun and all these different groups that start defending themselves. So this is all beginning now. These are the seeds of Geula. It says that at the end of days there have to be wars. That's why the Rambam calls it Milchemet. Hilchos Malachim U'Chamoseim. There are wars, unfortunately. But again, that's part of God's plan. And if that's part of God's plan, then we go with it. We think differently. That's in our narrow vision. Kadosh Baruch Hu knows, and I think it's unfortunate because it's based on our maisim. People would be the way they're supposed to be. Wars wouldn't be necessary. We'd all be tzaddikim. It's only because people are not. People are evil. So you have to fight evil. And she knows she has a light of life, a special light of life. The Torah is Or Chaim Miyuchadim of Am Yisrael. That they crown her and the whole world. We're a bracha to the nations. We know in our subconscious, in our Pnimius HaNeshama, et chosna ki ozla be'elokei emet. The strength and power that we have is because we are doveg to the God of truth. That's what's happening now as we see it unfolding before our very eyes. The redemption process, which should conclude very soon, Mirz Hashem. And everybody will come to the Beis HaMikdash to serve Hashem. Vavdu as a kulam shchem echad, b'safa brura, like it says in the pasuk of Tzfanya. We should be zocher Mirz Hashem to see that geula b'mheir v'yameinu. Amen v'amen. Shalom, shalom, sweetest and most beloved friends.